All right, let's just jump into it. 3 ways to teach critical thinking. Like, what what is critical thinking? Like, what do we think about when we think about critical thinking? Um, a lot of times it's this idea of I'm going to use objective analysis. I'm going to gather facts. I'm going to use observations, and then I'm going to, as I analyze that and digest it, I'm going to come and form a judgment, right? And so let's look at how we can do that, and if that definition even is correct, right? So our first strategy is questions, not answers. So the first one is this idea of questions is very powerful because critical thinking is the art of good sound judgment. Judgment doesn't come from Google. Judgment doesn't come from AI. Judgment comes from something deeper than that, right? And so we want to, as we teach and as you talk to your children, use why or how questions. Obviously, and I'm not gonna keep saying this, but obviously there's times and places where you just say, what is 4 times 4? And there's a correct answer, and that's an appropriate thing to ask and to get that fact into the brain. But critical thinking is not just ingesting or inputting facts into somebody's brains. It's getting our children and us as well to be able to look at a wide variety of situations and be able to have this wisdom, this sound judgment. Um, and so when you think about why or how questions, I teach 12th grade. I teach humanities 12, and we teach a little bit about slavery, right? United States and slavery. And so the questions, you think about this question: was slavery wrong? That's really not that's not a question that requires any type of critical thinking. Was slavery wrong? The answer is yes, right? We're going to get to that. And in fact, let me just pull the next bullet up, right? That question doesn't engender any type of deeper style thinking. So when you ask, was slavery wrong? Instead, just say, why was slavery wrong? Because we know it's wrong, but why? Why is it wrong? Slavery's been with us all throughout history. It's just a normal part of being living on planet Earth. There's never been a time when there hasn't been slavery, including today, that there hasn't been slavery in the world. And so that stops the soul just a little bit. We have slavery today. Why is it wrong? Why? And then you have a beautiful discussion. So another example of this, like I said, I teach 20th century history. Um, we just finished up World War II. It pains me that so much of my life is now being taught in my history class, right? Like I'm getting old enough that I'm teaching history that I actually lived and experienced. I wasn't in World War II, but very quickly we get to when I was born, and then away we go. But we're talking about the dropping the atomic bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And I love this question because it really stops the students, because everybody knows that we dropped an atomic bomb on Nagasaki and then Hiroshima. But as many, if actually more people died in conventional fire bombings in Dresden and Tokyo. And so I always ask the question, why? Why does everybody know about the atomic bombs but not about these other bombs that actually took more life? Why is that more impactful on the soul? Does it really matter the way that you die? Do we remember it? Like, why is the atomic bomb worse when it killed just as many people as the firebombing? Why do we always remember the atomic bomb? And then we have a very interesting discussion, because I can't answer that question. I really don't know why that's the case. And we'll get to that strategy here in a bit as well. So this idea of staying away from yes or no questions. Uh, Answering yes or no questions are really good for politicians to get elected, but it's not good for us to learn critical thinking, right? Um, The third bullet point on this questions not answers is you use other sources of finding truth to enhance critical thinking, to enhance this idea of how you come to truth. In philosophy, they call this process epistemology. This idea of this is how you come to truth. And there's a variety of ways. Critical thinking is primarily reason, but there's uh, there's philosophy, there's revelation, there's aesthetics through beauty, there's science through observation. And so it's really great to use and to bring those into the mix. And then you ask questions about that. Um, One of my favorite things to do in my class, like you put up, if you're talking about courage or you're talking about, you put up the picture of Michelangelo's David. And I go Google this, the statue, if you've never actually zeroed in on his face. And you just ask the question, why is he looking that way? Why is his face expressing that? And again, it stops and it makes you think. That's not something that you can plug into Google. That's not even something you can plug into AI. Because that's a question that's soul deep, right? It goes beyond just facts and figures. And so that's one of the first keys, is that we are not searching for facts and figures when we're teaching critical thinking. So we ask questions. We ask questions that elicit a response, not from just the mind, but from the soul. Um, Another part of this important part of the questions is don't ask a question that you already know the answer to. Like I said before, when I asked that question about the atomic bomb versus Dresden firebomb, I can't honestly tell you. Another great debate we have around the atomic bomb was, why was it necessary to drop the atomic bomb? Should we have? Right? I can't answer that. I don't know the answer to that. And so when I ask my students, I become a student myself. I become engaged in that debate and I listen to what they're saying because I genuinely am curious. If I go back to that question, was slavery wrong? The only thing I'm going to listen for is if somebody answers, gives me the wrong answer so that I can correct them. You're not asking questions to correct, you're asking questions to learn, and you're you're one of the learners, right? One of my favorite quotes, E. E. Cummings. Yes, I know that I capitalized his name there. For those of you that know E. E. Cummings, um, always the beautiful answer who asks a more beautiful question. Socrates was famous for um, asking question after question after question after question, trying to find the right question so that he could finally get the right answer. But he knew that the right answer wasn't going to be some Google search or some AI search, but somehow that this answer would come from his soul, right? From the heart and the mind and the passions and everything that everything mixed together. And so questioning is so important. And let me just add one more critical thing. There's a lot of people that ask questions, and I may have this on one of my later slides, but I feel like I want to address it right now. There's a lot of people that may ask questions to provoke or to be provocative or to use it as a shortcut because it elicits some emotional response. Just ignore that. Don't ever do that in your house. Don't ever do that with your students. Don't ever ask one of those really provocative questions that are just there to provoke emotion because it's a shortcut to what people would think is a deep, insightful question. C.S. Lewis, in his magnificent book, The Abolition of Man, he talks about this concept of truth, and all of the great religions were working within the truth, and he called it the Tao. And he said, always ask questions within the Tao. Don't go outside of the Tao. So don't ask questions like, what if God doesn't exist? That's just provocative. There's no point in that question. Stay within the realm of truth. Respect, even if you're not religious yourself, respect other cultures, other religions, other beliefs. You're on this process of finding truth together. Okay, let's do strategy number 2. One of my favorites, because we do this at our school, John Adams Academy. Utilize classics and great ideas to accelerate your scholars' critical thinking. There was a time, I don't think they're very popular anymore, but the great kids book, Captain Underpants. I actually never read any of them, but um, they're fun, right? I would never tell people not to read fun books. But classics are classics because they have touched human souls over the duration of whenever that classic was produced. So the best critical thinking uses the best source material. Talk about how to deal with grief, which is such a profound um, topic in today's world. How do you deal with grief after reading Where the Red Fern Grows? And you'll get an amazing discussion. Students thinking. Why doesn't little Anne have the capacity to just keep living? You know, why does she have to die too? Why does, all of those wonderful things. Another great, wonderful question to ask, why does curiosity get George in so much trouble? Right? Isn't curiosity a good thing? How do we temper curiosity? I don't know the answer to that. When I was a kid, I was just like, man, Curious George he's an awesome little monkey. Why is he always getting in trouble? Why is curious? Those kind of questions that are just wonderful. And then you get up to some of the books that we read in 12th grade with my scholars, and we had an amazing, wonderful, insightful discussion about Crime and Punishment last week, Dostoevsky. If you haven't read that one, I mean, make sure you get plenty of sunshine while you read that book because it's pretty depressing. But that is a beautiful book that will elicit great, deep thinking. The second one is use great ideas in your discussions. Don't necessarily I mean, you got to understand the plot and the characterization and those type of things, but look for the great ideas. The great ideas, you can go Google them. There's things like, what is justice? What is courage? What is temperance? Those virtues that Socrates and Plato and the old, all of the old philosophers, all of the old prophets, they said those virtues are what make your life worth living. Those are those virtues that make your life good. Those are the ideas and the things that, as we ask questions about and we talk about, they make your life better. They don't just fill your mind with knowledge. They literally make your life better. And you can do that in history. You can do that in literature. You know, Washington retreats from New York City. Was that courage? What is courage? Why would Washington retreat? You talk to a bunch of 6th and 7th graders about what is courage. Um, Next one, critical thinking takes time, no shortcuts. It is a process. And be patient. Be patient. And especially be patient with yourself. It's never too late to start, but be patient with it. I was not really introduced to a deep, critically thinking curriculum until I went back to grad school when I was like in my early 30s. Got out of the Air Force, went to this little private classics-based classics books college, and then I just fell in love with it. And it's taken time for that process of thinking deeply for me to see that change in my life. But I would really encourage it's never too late, and start. Grab a book, listen to music, look at a painting, start thinking deeper than maybe what you can find on, Netflix or something like that. Nothing wrong with Netflix, but There we go. And then the last one is use all the epistemologies. I already touched on this one with the last one, but there is something powerful. When beauty touches your soul, like I hate modern art, and I hope there's nobody here that is like a huge modern art fan, but I don't really like it at all. Pablo Picasso, I think I just none of his work affects me except for one picture, one painting, and it always grabs my soul, and I still don't know why. But if you've ever seen the painting of Guernica, maybe it's because I love military history, and that's from the Spanish Civil War, and I know the story, and I know what happened there, and I know how horrible it was, and I know how it was used in many ways for propaganda, but at the same time it was reflecting what actually happened, and there were innocent lives that were lost that he was representing. The picture itself is modern art, right? It's kind of disjointed, and it's kind of jarring, but every time I look at it, it captures me. And I have to, so this beauty, right? This aesthetics, that's one of the epistemologies. You can use beauty to teach truth and to convey and find truth. So you have this aesthetically beautiful painting, and it captures my heart every single time. And my mind has no clue why. So how do I improve my critical thinking with that? Well, I just ask, why does this painting grab me every single time? Because I show it every time, every year when I'm teaching Humanities 12. Spanish Civil War happens right before World War II. And I've actually talked to my class about it. And I think about it. And I engage my mind with what is it about this painting that is somehow reflecting truth, because it grabs me every time. So don't be afraid, and don't think that critical thinking is just logic or just math or just reading a book. You can engage critical thinking in all of the various ways that we approach life. Okay, oh, you know what? I just wanted to throw that there. You can go and Google this 105 or 103 great ideas. This is from the great book set. There's other areas. These are the great ideas that you can glean from the history of classics. Pleasure and pain, death, love, knowledge, justice, fun conversations you can have with that. Last strategy, this one, again, well, all three of them are my favorite, but humility is essential in teaching critical thinking. So let me just go through this one a little quick. You are teaching how critical thinking tempers the soul through your example. Critical thinking, Plato talked about the parts of the soul, the mind and the heart, the courage, the spiritedness, and the passions, and then the justice is the three that are in harmony. As you improve your critical thinking, it engenders a type of patience, a type of love. Who's writing on my slide? Who is that? AS. I see what you're doing there. I should lock it down. It engenders, let me back up. It engenders, as you critically think, as you put the mind in its proper place, you will find your soul changing. You become more patient. You become more understanding. You become more wise. And so just be aware that in doing this, there has to be a lot of humility in the way that you approach this. This is not just a standard academic pursuit. This is what all of the old pagan philosophers, all the Judeo-Christian philosophers, the prophets, all of them, they talked about that this will change your soul. And so there's a little bit of pressure, so just be humble about it. Just know that you're going to fail. Just know that you're going to make mistakes. That's okay. The number of times that I've apologized to my kids over the years, all the time, right? Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. And then they apologize back, and we have this, there's this, you are modeling a behavior, not just a procedure. And so the next part of that is that you really can learn from your children and your scholars, your students, right? This is your journey as much as it is theirs. I remember one time, I'll end on this story. I was reading Friedrich Nietzsche. If anybody's ever read Nietzsche, he is a trip, right? He's a philosopher. He wrote in the late 1800s. He was German. it was really hard. He famously said God is dead. And so it was really combative with my personal belief system. And as I was talking with my wife about it, and I was trying to explain to her what it was about, and all of these things, and I was like, he's so good, he's so engaging, he's so interesting, it's so wonderful. And my little girl, she was 4 years old at the time, and she put it in religious terms. So if you're not religious, you can kind of twist it around, or not twist it around, but you can put it in whatever terms work for you, because it's just a pursuit of the good, the pursuit of the truth. But my daughter, she looked and she said, anytime uh, the devil makes a mistake, he blames Jesus. And that's how she succinctly summarized Friedrich Nietzsche. And I tell you, it's exactly what I was trying to figure out. She said it, and I was like, oh, that's it. And so I actually quoted her. It's in the front of my book of Nietzsche. I really like Nietzsche. I think he has a lot of positive things to offer, but there's a lot of things that I don't like. He's a modern philosopher, and that's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother time. Um, and I learned, and I was like, what is she, 20 now? So 16 years ago, 17 years ago, I still remember, because that phrase, what she said, penetrated my soul. So don't ever think that you are teaching them. You are learning together. And you're the mentor, and you're going to do a lot of guiding, but don't ever get so excited about being the guide that you don't stop and say, I can learn from them. Critical thinking is a process that we all engage in. And as soon as you engage in that journey, we all become scholars, because nobody has this down. All right, so really quick, paid advertisement, our mission, our model. John Adams Academy, we are restoring America's heritage. We are a classics-based school, but specifically grounded in the American heritage. So we really focus on the American founding and the ideals and the virtues that were present in the founding. We talk about becoming a servant leader. All of this is on our website. I encourage you to go take a look at it. It's marvelous. We have 10 core values that we revolve around at John Adams Academy. Number one, appreciation of our national heritage, public and private virtue. You can go through those. Those are on our website as well. They are our compass. They are what we always talk about. That's what we're trying to inculcate to our scholars. That's what we are about, as well as bringing them into ourselves. We have a process at John Adams Academy, American Classical Leadership Education, in which we read, think, speak, write, and then we just do that again and again and again and again. Read, think, talk about learning critical thinking, speak, plenty of opportunities to speak and discuss in class, and then write. We have them write a lot. My scholars are just finishing up their 15 to 20 page senior paper for 12th grade. And I think that was it. Oh, no, one more. We offer live courses, live subjects, K through 12. Live courses. If you have any desire to see those courses, Christina, give her your email and she will send you. We just finished recording like 4 different examples of live courses. If you ask, how do you do live courses? Because I remember how they used to do it in COVID. We don't do it that way. We have it. We know what we're doing with online here at John Adams. So there we go. And we don't have time for the bonus strategy because we're out of time. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much for taking time out of your Wednesday evening. Please stay after if you got any questions, but happy thinking. See you.